Okay, happy Monday and welcome back to my channel. And there's a lot of news to get into, so let's just get into it. All right, so more than 1,300 people were killed and thousands injured when a major earthquake of magnitude 7.8 struck central Turkey and northwest Syria, collapsing buildings and triggering searches for survivors in the rubble. The quake, which hit in the early darkness of a winter morning, was also felt in Cyprus and Lebanon. And for those who know their geography, know that Cyprus is an island, so yeah, that's quite a range. Anyway, as of this recording, the death toll is up to 2,300 now. So, and I saw pictures of the aftershocks, and buildings were coming down like it was a planned implosion of these buildings. It was just really surreal. So, all right, let's move on. Ukraine is set to replace Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov with the chief of its military spy agency, a close ally of President Volodymyr Zelensky said, in a reshuffle at the forefront of Ukraine's war campaign. Reznikov would be replaced by Kirilo Budanov, head of the GUR Military Intelligence Agency. Let's see if we can find out why this is another corruption thing, or if there's another reason for it. Let's see. So, Reznikov would be transferred to another ministerial job. Okay. So, war dictates changes in personnel policy. So, it's not saying anything about Reznikov's reshuffle would be the highest profile government change in a slew of resignations and sackings following a corruption scandal late last month and Zelensky's pledge for Ukraine to meet Western standards of clean governance. All right, so the person who was mentioning this David Arakamia, a senior lawmaker and chief of Servant of the People parliamentary bloc, said that force agencies like the Defense Ministry should not be headed by politicians during wartime, but people with a background in defense or security. So it sounds like it's more of a policy thing, a diplomatic thing, rather than anything that he did specifically wrong. So that's good to hear. All right, let's see here. Health workers in Britain began their largest strike as tens of thousands of nurses and ambulance workers walk out in escalating pay dispute, putting further strain on the state-run National Health Service. Nurses and ambulance workers have been striking separately on and off since late last year, but today's walkout involved both, largely in England, is the biggest in the 75-year history of the NHS. Right? Israeli forces killed armed fighters during a raid on a refugee camp near the occupied West Bank city of Jericho, aimed at capturing suspected Hamas militants, the Israel military said in a statement. 5 people were killed. Governor of Jericho, Jihad Abu al-Assad, said in the raid in Akbat Jabir refugee camp in southern Jericho, and 8 were arrested, according to a statement published by official Palestinian news agency Wafa. All right. A senior leader of Taiwan's main opposition party will visit China this week and meet its top Taiwan policymaker amid continued military and political tensions between the two sides. What? China has, during the past 3 years, ramped up pressure on Taiwan to accept Chinese sovereignty, including staging regular military drills near the democratically governed island. Taiwan's government rejects China's territorial claims. Now, let me read that again. So, are these two separate things? Because, what? Let's see here. This makes no sense to me. Okay, so the KMT said its deputy chairman, Andrew Hissa, would leave for China on Wednesday and meet Song Tao, the newly appointed head of China's Taiwan Affairs Office. Okay. Alrighty, so it's a Chinese office on Taiwan. Okay. Now that makes sense. Alright. Alright, moving on. Alright, Pope Francis has said some in the conservative wing of the Roman Catholic Church had exploited the death of the former Pope, Benedict, in an unethical way for their own gains. Speaking to reporters aboard the plane returning from a trip to Africa, Francis also rejected claims by some conservatives that Benedict, who died on August 31st, was embittered by some of the current Pope's decisions. Considering how conservative Benedict was, yeah, he probably was. Anyway, moving on to U.S. news. The U.S. military said it was searching for the remnants of the suspected Chinese surveillance balloon it shot down, while Beijing urged Washington not to escalate the issue or take further action. The drama over the balloon, which Beijing reiterated was a civilian airship that accidentally strayed into U.S. airspace, has further strained tense relations, prompting Washington to cancel Secretary of State Antony Blinken's planned visit to Beijing. Now, my problem with this whole thing is that first, Canada claimed they found a second occurrence. Then they said there was a second occurrence in Latin America. And now we don't hear about a second balloon anywhere. So let me see if I can find them, if they say anything about a second balloon. Because if it's just one balloon, yeah, I could understand that. But if it was more than one, that makes it a little harder to justify. So, and as of this recording, they still haven't recovered the balloon. What I don't understand is, why do they even need a balloon? I mean, they have satellites. So, I just... Whew. All right, come on, guys. Say something about it. right. On Sunday, Colombia's military said it sighted an airborne object similar to a balloon after the Pentagon said on Friday they had another Chinese balloon, that another Chinese balloon was flying over Latin America. Okay, so that's still a thing. Okay, good. So it's not that anyone backtracked. But yeah, I could understand if it was one balloon, but the fact that there's two now, that makes it harder to justify that it was just an accident. I mean, come on, you don't need that many weather balloons. So, but the question is still why? Why would they do this? Because I mean, they have satellites. They don't need balloons to spy on the US unless they're just because nobody can see satellites. People don't think about it, and this was meant to scare people. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, a leading conservative research group, NatureServe, which analyzes data from its network of over 1,000 scientists across the US and Canada, found that 40% of animals and 34% of plants in the US are at risk of extinction, while 41% of ecosystems are facing collapse. Everything from crayfish and cacti to freshwater mussels and iconic American species such as the Venus flytrap are in danger of disappearing. Did I say conservative? Try conservation. Yeah. That makes more sense. Okay, eyes. Americans for Prosperity, a political advocacy group backed by Charles Koch, is preparing to get involved in the 2024 election, saying it wanted to back a candidate who could lead the country forward. The group, which has promoted lower taxes, less regulation, and free trade, reiterated its presence in key states. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, but the point of being a Republican is you're conservative. Conservative and moving forward are literally opposite of each other. You want to move forward, you want to make progress, which means progressives, which means in this country anyway, Democrats. So, yeah. And not to mention that the lower taxes is for the rich, not for Joe Schmo. I mean, no. The poor rich people need to pay lower taxes. Let's see. And I don't think I have to tell people why less regulation is bad. I mean, granted, there's probably some rules and regulations that you're scratching your head what the point of it is. But for the most part, yeah, regulation is good. It's what keeps water from, being polluted up the yin yang, among other things. All right. The Justice Department will participate in a review of the Memphis Police Department after the death of Tyree Nichols, a 29-year-old black man fatally beaten by officers in the Tennessee city last month, according to city officials. The review was disclosed in a bulletin by Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland. Okay. A federal law prohibiting marijuana users from possessing firearms is unconstitutional, a federal judge in Oklahoma has concluded. District Judge Patrick Wyrick, an appointee of former Republican President Donald Trump, dismissed an indictment against a man charged in August with violating that ban, saying it infringed on his right to bear arms under the Constitution's Second Amendment. Okay, I'm of two minds here. First off, people who, need to I have low opinion of people who are beating their chests about the Second Amendment. I really do. because, okay, yeah, in certain cases guns are fine. But on the other hand, why was there a law against marijuana users? These people generally aren't violent. They usually are like sitting on the couch watching, some program and laughing or saying, "Look, cool." These are not dangerous people. I mean, I'm sure there are some who are dangerous because marijuana works differently on different people, but for the most part, I just why? I mean, if they're violent, yeah, absolutely they shouldn't have guns, but if they are just using marijuana, sitting on the couch and eating a bag of chips because it causes the munchies, that isn't violence. Well, maybe the bag of chips would consider it violence, but all right. So let's end with business and markets. A crisis engulfing the Adani Group intensified as dozens of members of India's opposition party were detained by police during protests, and parliament was suspended again. Adani shares continued their free fall, with the conglomerate's cumulative market value loss topping $110 billion. The crisis was triggered by short seller Hindenburg Research's report that accused the Adani Group of stock manipulation and unsustainable debt. Okay, definitely not good for India what's going on, but I'm sorry, I still have to laugh at that research group being called Hindenburg. I just find that so funny. All right. Global shares tumbled on Monday after a run of upbeat economic data suggested interest rates will have to rise further and stay higher for longer, while a stronger dollar and political turbulence hit risk-linked assets. Last week's Let's try that again. Last week's blockbuster U.S. jobs report sent investors scurrying to load up on dollars to the detriment of emerging market assets and lower yielding currencies like the yen. And this is another reason why the debt ceiling kerfuffle, brouhaha, whatever you want to call it, that's going on in the U.S. Congress right now is so dangerous. Because if we default on our loans, all those people who are currently gobbling up dollars right now, yeah, it's going to be worth shit. The global economy is going to collapse. So, yeah. Nissan and Renault unveiled details of their redesigned alliance, with the Japanese carmaker committing to buy a stake of up to 15% in Renault's electric vehicle unit, Ampere. The agreement, which also included the previously announced reduction in Renault's stake in Nissan, aims to make the alliance freer and more balanced for the next 15 years, Renault CEO Luca de Mayo said. All right. U.S. investor Sixth Street is among the firms preparing a bid for a part of the media and commercial rights to Germany's football league, the Financial Times reported. The sale of a minority stake in the Bundesliga rights could be valued up to 18 billion euros, or $19.43 billion, comes as the German soccer league tries to close the financial gap with rivals. Russia was willing to meet India's oil needs at market price, the CEO of top Russian oil major told Reuters. What is with that horrible English? In December, the Group of Seven, the European Union, and Australia enforced a price cap, oh my God, a price cap on crude oil, aiming to reduce Moscow's ability to finance its war in Ukraine and preserve stability on the global market. Russia has replaced Iraq as the largest supplier of oil to India. So, yeah. And I believe that is all I have. I guess this is a big deal for some people, but Beyonce breaks the all-time Grammy win record, so if you care about that. Otherwise, I think I've covered everything that is currently happening. You know, when I talked about India earlier about their financial markets going into the shitter, when you read something about how they're basically financing Russia's war because they're buying more oil, you almost don't feel bad anymore. Because, I mean, but you feel bad for the Indian people because how many of them actually, if they know what's going on, actually back Russia? So yeah. Anyway, with that, I am done for this report, and I will see you guys tomorrow.